and welcome to Co-ople Mode, a couple's opinion on gaming. I'm Matt.
I'm Rose.
And welcome back to the studio. We left the spire, and no more six-eyed whales. It was 6 eyes, I confirmed. At least there's 3 eyes on one side, so I'm assuming there's
Maybe
3 more.
he only has 3 on one side, like that one, the fish that lives up in Alaska.
Yeah.
Is that the halibut?
No, there's like the one like flat fish that lays on the bottom of the bed of the floor and both of the eyes go straight up. I know exactly.
Isn't that a halibut actually?
You want to look it up? Yeah, you're 100% right.
It is the halibut. I know my eaten fishes.
I don't know how you look at that and think it's an eaten fish, but
Halibut, that's an eaten fish.
I know it's
You
good.
eat them.
People love them, but I just like
This is a Midwestern girl talking about an Alaska fish, and Alaska's basically the Midwest but far away. So
Further away.
I know that you can eat them, and that's what matters and is important in case I ever need to know.
Yep, you're ready.
But anyways,
no, it's important.
Sorry.
So let's get on to the next game you're playing, and I was bouncing around between a couple different ones, and all of a sudden I had an epiphany, and I realized that I have been neglecting a part of your gaming education.
Oh, okay.
So here, like we've done roguelites, we've done deck builders,
Yeah.
we've done RPGs, and
You keep putting RPGs on me that I refuse.
I'm going to
No,
forever.
thank you.
They're everywhere. You're gonna deal with it. Action games, all sorts of stuff. And then I realized I've talked about this.
Puzzle games?
No,
What kind
not
of
a puzzle game. This you have experience with puzzle games, so I'm not so worried about that.
Oh,
I
It's
am
something I don't know.
yes, something you haven't experienced.
What more genres are there?
This is
I
fun.
don't know,
I'm
'cause
sorry,
I'm a
folks.
gamer
I'm
noob.
waiting. Yeah. So
Oh, no, it's not that. I know what a RTS is, and I love those, so
Yep.
it's not that.
it has its own name based on 2 games that pioneered this format.
I feel like I should know that. I feel like you've talked about this before.
So
Oh, Lordy.
the genre that these style of games fall in is called a Metroidvania game.
Oh, yes. I have heard you talk about
Yes. So I'm going to be making you play one of the pioneers of this,
Castlevania.
Castlevania
Ooh.
Symphony of the Night.
I guessed right.
Yes. Now, see, that was fun for me to watch because you named off quite a few. Your education is developing, and I'm
Yes.
proud of you.
New semester.
Now, the 2 games that coined the term Metroidvania are this one,
Metroid, Castlevania.
Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo,
Yeah.
which was it was a 2D side scroller, but you had all these rooms and these big maps you could explore, and generally speaking, you might not always be able to get somewhere until you get some sort of ability. You come back and you have to you re-explore sometimes a little bit, and you find new nooks and crannies or new ways to new areas and such.
I feel like you tried to force me to play Castlevania once a long time ago, and I threw a fit.
I can honestly not remember.
I don't think I lasted long. I was like, no, this kind of sucks. I'm good.
You have more experience now, so you're okay. So we'll move on with information about the game, and then we'll dive in a little bit. It was published and developed by Konami. Now, Konami is known for Castlevania, Contra, Dance Dance Revolution, Metal Gear, and the horror series Silent Hill. And they're also very famous for the Konami code, which is also known as the Contra code. It was a cheat code that somebody accidentally left in a port of a game when they were making it, because he was like, this game's too hard. So he put in this cheat code for himself to give him 30 lives. And then he accidentally left it in there. And by the time they discovered it, it would have been way too much of a hassle to take it out. So Konami actually ended up putting it in a lot of other games as like this joke and nod to this, which is kind of interesting. And for those who know, it's up, up, down, down, left, right, BA. And this code usually has an effect in most Konami games, but there also are other games that have had this code do something in their games because it's such a famous thing now. Even Tetris. If you entered it in the original Tetris, it will change your Tetramino into an L piece once per game. Once per new game, you can turn any piece into an L piece using this code.
I don't see how that's a help, but
in a pinch, maybe. Also, Tetris Effect, you can use it to get to a screen where you can input the birth date of Tetris, and it unlocks a whole new level for you called 1984, which sounds very interesting. Yep. And recently I talked about I was playing Bloodstained Ritual of a Night, which is very much in the vein of Metroidvania games and Castlevania. Putting it in lets you enter a 1986 mode, which actually makes the game a little more difficult, like the old classic Castlevanias, even older than this one I'm going to make you play. Because like they were a little notorious for being tricky, but then again, you go back to like the old NES games and old Mario games, like they're hard.
they're hard.
Yeah, they weren't exactly easy, right?
No.
So Symphony, I'm just going to call it Castlevania because I am going to mumble through Symphony of the Night because it's a mouthful.
Symphony of the Night?
Yes. So this Castlevania was released March 1997 for the PlayStation. And that's when it originally came out. It later came out for the Sega Saturn, which is a callback. That's the time it came out. And also in 2006, they released it for Xbox 360 on the Xbox Live Arcade. Now, I have a fun story about this. This is the first game I ever purchased digitally.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 100%. I had never purchased a digital game before. I brought my Xbox over to our friend's house apartment because he had internet. And I downloaded this game because it looked so cool. Because even back then, the Xbox Live Arcade games, you could buy discs that would have like 5 or 6 of the arcade games on it. Like that's how we played, what was it, Geometry Wars, right? The fun little game.
That's how you played Portal at first.
Yeah, yep. And so an interesting thing is Xbox, this was the first game Xbox made an exception for the game size to exceed 50 megabytes. At the time, to get a game on Xbox Live Arcade, it had to be smaller than 50 megabytes. And to put that into perspective, like the average size of a phone picture you take nowadays is 4 megabytes. That was how small those file sizes on those games were.
Wow.
Yeah. And the funny thing is this game, it came out for 360, and there was a version for it that came out on the PlayStation Portable. Now, the other interesting thing of this story is I did not beat Castlevania Symphony, oh my God, of the night. I just feel myself stumble through it. I got a PlayStation Portable game called Dracula X, Castlevania Dracula X Chronicles, and if you get to a certain point in that game, you unlock the complete version of Symphony of the Night to play on your PlayStation Portable. And that was the version I beat the first time.
Oh, interesting.
Isn't that
That's
funny?
Cool.
But that was so cool. You had this whole game and you're playing it, and there's a little area that's a little tricky to get to, but you like break a wall and the disc falls out, and it's like, hey, you unlocked this in the extras tab. And then I stopped playing the full game, and then I just played the other one I unlocked because that's how much fun it was. It's just such a good game. And that's kind of this wild thing. Like, it made it really tricky to find how many copies this game sold because of where it ended up getting sold afterwards. Like, it came out on iOS. It came out for like the PlayStation Vita, PlayStation 4, Android. Like, it's so tricky. It sold but somewhere between 700,000 units and as much to 1.27 million.
Wow.
Yeah. So like, which is pretty good for that era, especially considering this is a 2D sprite game for the PlayStation. And at the time when this was coming out, everyone was pushing 3D. Oh my God, it's 3D. It's 3D Worlds. You know, Super Mario 64 was out in 1996, and that was like an amazing game, right? And everyone was pushing 3D effects, and here comes Castlevania, and like, hey, we got this 2D sprite game, but like, you have this whole huge castle to explore, which is just impressive. And the funny thing is, it took time for this game to get those sales up. It was kind of a sleeper hit. The critic reviews were really good. And then people started, you know, word of mouth was how all the games got popular back in the day, right?
Yeah.
And then it just like exploded. Now, now the game kind of has a cult following, and some people will still swear it's the best Castlevania game. It is listed as like one of the greatest games of all time in numerous magazines. Like, it's kind of nuts. Like, a lot of people quote this as one of their favorite games.
No pressure.
No pressure. This is for your education, Rose. So the current Metacritic score for PlayStation is 93. And then 89 for the Xbox version.
Oh, goodness.
So still up there. Yeah, and like just the fact that it helped coin the term Metroidvania, like I said before, when you do a game in a way that like it pioneers a genre, you did something right? Even if it's not for everybody, you did something right.
Yeah.
She's panicking like she does every time anytime I talk about a game that's like, oh yeah, it got like 90. And then she's like, oh my God, if I hate this, everyone's going to hate me. That's the face she's making right now. So from the outset, when they were working on this game, they kind of developed it as a side story for the series, and they really wanted to break some of the Castlevania conventions up until that point. Up until that point, you almost always played as like a Belmont or a vampire hunter. You usually had your whip as your main weapon, the vampire killer, and you were out to kill Dracula. And it was always kind of a very linear adventure. Very much like, this is going to sound like a wild pull to you guys, but we did a bonus episode on the Tom Sawyer adventures.
Yeah.
It's like, it was all linear adventures like that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you have like you can only go one way.
This is where you go.
Yep. Oh, there's a enemy that'll surprise me here. Be careful, you know, stuff like that. But part of the reason that they wanted to really start making some changes was the sight of dozens of Castlevania cartridges and games in bargain bins in Japan. People would play this game and then sell it, right?
Yeah.
So they wanted to have something that would have more staying power, have a little more replayability. And that was really the catalyst for them making these changes. And because of that, like, they changed the stage by stage progression. You have this whole castle to explore. And also they worried about the difficulty. And that's when they added like a leveling system. So as you kill enemies, you level up. So you get stronger and tougher, so it becomes easier to kill the enemies. But you also can get a sword that's stronger and stuff like that. That's that RPG stuff, but grind a little bit if you're worried about it. So anybody can eventually beat this game if they take their time. That's kind of the idea, right?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
They really took a lot of inspiration from Legend of Zelda and like to explore and find secrets. Sometimes there'll be I've gotten into such a habit of when I come up to a wall, I'm like, I got to attack that wall because some walls are breakable. Are there very many breakable walls? Not a lot, but enough for you to go, I got to slice this wall just to see if there's a turkey in here or a floor ham, you know, all that great floor food that was in the old Sprite games that you put in your inventory to eat when you're about to die. Hold on, I got to eat 20 pizzas real quick. Settle down. And but you know, and then they still wanted to kind of retain that hack and slash bit from the old games where it's like I'm slicing, I'm
whipping
dicing.
away.
Yeah, right. This game was also the debut of the video game debut of a particular artist who worked as the character designer, and she drew all these characters in this Bishonen style, which is like pretty boy, pretty young boy. That's what it translates to in English. And you can see it like just these like, I think it's just like that vampire style where it's like ethereal beauty kind of, right? Because in this game, you don't play as a Belmont. You play as Alucard, who is Dracula's son. They call him a Dhampir, which is they're half vampire, half human.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's like, I got to stop my dad from just killing everybody because he can't be doing this. Like, even he's like, this isn't right.
Because lucky me, I'm half human. I can eat this floor ham.
Yeah, he could still eat floor ham. I don't know if he needs to drink blood or not.
That'd be something to clear up. That's kind of important.
But that was kind of the cool part of it, is like I'm playing as this half vampire, and you do find spells you can cast in the game, and you can take forms. There's a wolf form and a bat form and a mist form. So like you can turn into a bat, get a little further up. The wolf you can run across really fast, and the mist form makes you intangible to get through certain areas. And it's just kind of like, it's a fun little nod to vampire lore and such. Mm-hmm. And this game was so successful. So many of the sequel Castlevanias that are 2D are in this style now because it is so good. I have a couple that I always come back to. There's a Game Boy Advance and a DS one. I think Aria of Sorrow is the name of one of them. And it keeps bringing me back because it has that right mix of stuff. But the fact that this one started it, this one is still fun to come back to and play and enjoy. And I just love the location, the castle, and going into the different wings, and you get all this like cool gothic like Transylvania vibe. Like, oh, this is the library. This is kind of nice. There's bookshelves and it's all wood, but then you go out into the courtyard, and you got like the leaf in the greenery and stuff like that.
Fancy.
Yeah. It'll be really interesting to me to see how this hits you this time, because the boss fights can be tough sometimes, but if you're just going around trying to explore everywhere you can explore, you're just going to level up naturally, right? And that's kind of the impetus of this game, is to try to just see where you can get to right now and then go back to it. And luckily there's a map. You can always go and check the map to see like how far you got somewhere. And I don't know, there's not too much more I want to burn into it until you get a chance to play it. But I'm excited to see what you think.
I'm a little nervous, but I don't know, a little bit excited.
Yeah.
It could hit really well.
It's funny because I was like, I can't believe I haven't made you play something like this. And you played Hades and got into that for a little bit, and that's harder than this is.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but there are roguelites that are in this vein. A really popular one was Dead Cells. I love Dead Cells. There's even a Castlevania crossover with Dead Cells where you can get some weapons from like the Castlevania universe, and I think you can fight Dracula as a boss. And also, I think I was talking about V Rising recently, where you play as a vampire, build your castle and all that stuff. And when they fully release, they're going to have one of the Belmonts as a boss you can fight, because you're the vampire in that game. So you got to fight the vampire killer. And I thought that was so cool. They're so willing to do fun. If they think it's a fun crossover, I feel like they're just like, yeah, go for it. Like have never felt like they're so protective of their IP that they won't share in that kind of joy of like this surprise in other games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, unlike some people.
There's always, I get why some people get like that. But we'll get out. Well, yeah. How excited are you? She's nervous.
5.
Yeah. I'll take it. I'm
just like, but I could just go play Slay the Spire again.
Yeah. It's new game time. Yeah. Slay the Spire was easy. That was easy mode, Rose.
I mean, well, how do you mean?
I mean, you started that up, and about 5 seconds in, you're like, I got this. And like, no stress about starting a new game.
I know, it was so nice.
I gotta save those games to pepper in when you need them.
It was a nice little respite from the hard work of having to. This shouldn't be that complicated, though. It's going to be fine, right?
No, this isn't so bad.
This is going to be easy.
Once you get kind of the basic idea, you're gonna go just fine. I'm not too worried about it.
Ready to party.
6
out of 10.
6. Oh, okay, we brought it up. All right, 6 out of 10. We gotta get out of here. She's dying. She's chomping at the bit. We'll see you guys in the second half. Bye-bye. Hello and everyone. Welcome back from the spoopy, scary skeletons of Castlevania's Dracula's castle.
And annoying axe throwers. And weird little skeleton guys that drip poison on me all the time.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what they're called.
Who knows what those are called?
They look like little vases full of poison with teeth and legs, and they skitter.
Scoot around. And tables that kick my ass. Why do the tables kick my ass?
It's because they go for the shins. No one's prepared for something to go for your shins. So we're excited to hear some thoughts and feelings about this game.
Well, starting this one up, it was kind of funny because you were watching me, and I thought, he's going to be so surprised. Look at me not slamming through the beginning storyline. I enjoyed it very much.
Yeah, the rolling text at the beginning.
Yeah, just the story and the vibes of it.
Yeah, the vibe.
Even though, like, it's not as long as some games, but it can be a little on the longer side. And I think it's the way it's written and everything that I was like, ooh, I like this.
It does have a bit of that older writing style that you really enjoy. For anybody who doesn't know, Rose is a very avid reader, but she definitely has a tendency to lean towards the older books more than the newer ones.
Yeah, apparently if they're written in Old English, then I'm good to go. So that's where Dragon Quest fails.
Yeah.
It needs to be more old-timey, and it'll take my attention.
Yeah. So, but I also think so how it was written you liked, and also it gave you kind of, it was like a summary overview of what's going on to get you up to speed to what was happening.
Yeah, I kind of like the beginning of it because it starts you off at the end of the last game before.
Yeah, because it's essentially a sequel. I can't remember which original Castlevania it is. It's whichever one you play as Richter Belmont. I can't remember offhand. But yeah, so it is kind of cool. I always thought that was interesting that it kind of starts you off in this like updated version of the old Castlevania game with that's where your health bar go. It used to go up and down. Like everything about it makes you feel like you're playing this old game, which is really interesting.
And so you're all powerful and you're kind of kicking Dracula's butt.
Yep.
And then that ends and you become Alucard and you have all these cool powers. And those immediately get taken away.
Yeah,
and you go, yep, taste of power. That's what you know you can achieve.
Yep, you start out, see, you were just playing and you're like, oh, this isn't so bad, right?
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is fine.
And that's because you have Alucard's shield, his sword, which you can find again in the game eventually. But it is funny because that's part of the reason why Metroidvania got its titles, because both the games have this place that you explore almost like a grid-like map, and then you have to sometimes go back to get to areas you couldn't get to before with powers.
Right.
But you also, in both those games, start out really strong, and then you like fall down a hole or something, and then you lose all your powers, which is a big joke with Metroid, but this Castlevania did it to you too, which is kind of really amusing in a way. Like, oh, you feeling good about yourself?
Yeah, it was so funny. That's how I felt. I was just laughing on the couch.
Yeah, her
rolling with laughter.
Her choice of words was, oh. Oh, man.
Bummer, dude.
Yeah, pretty much.
So then the real game really begins. That actually feels like the real beginning.
Yeah, I would say that.
And from there, it's just exploring the castle, trying not to die, trying to find save points, trying to find goodies everywhere. It's platformers. Platformers are not my favorite thing. They never have been. When we were young, because we're old, like, that's what we had. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I would play them, but I always sucked at them so much that I was like, I'm good with this for a little while and then I'm done, right? I have some old-timey favorites because I've played them so much in my youth that I know what to do and everything. But that's not the kind of game that I enjoy playing. And trying to learn a new one in this day and age, I'm like, nah, I don't have the skills. I can't do this. That's how I've always felt. You're really good at platformers.
Yeah, I do like a good platformer.
And this one, we were talking about it, like this one is a little different because it's almost like Twitch controls, mixed with memorization for the platforming aspect of it, you know, and it just, I'm not good at Twitch controls. Not good at it. I'm not terrible, but I'm not good at it. I'm not good enough at it, you know?
I guess, to me, I feel like the platforming in this game works pretty well. I don't think you had a trouble with specifically the platform. It's the monster placement included with the platforming that makes it trickier, right?
Yeah, I did feel that way, and I had to say it in the moment. I was like, you know, this game feels great.
Yeah.
Like when you jump and when you're trying to land on a certain spot, that is exactly where you go. And it feels really well done that way, which I appreciate, because the only thing worse than a platforming game is a platformer where, oh my God, you cannot direct your character at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if the jumping feels bad. I saw back in the day, I remember seeing videos of, like, especially when platformers were moving to a 3D medium, there was a big struggle in how to make a platformer feel good going from 2D. Because Mario had it, like, nailed down, right?
The 2D?
Yeah, and then 64 was really the pioneer for making a 3D platformer feel good.
Yeah,
and it's only
even
been
that one
improved.
Isn't the best, but it's still... Yeah. That one is funny. It's good, and at the time it was really good. Yep. But you go back and you play it, and you're like, there's still some wonkiness here and there when you do certain things.
Yeah, a little bit. Especially if you played, like, Odyssey. Like, that one feels really good, I think.
Oh, sure.
Yep. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, it's okay. It's just, I appreciate that about this game, and it makes it. I know what I was thinking about. Okay. You said you pointed it out when I had you play the Tom Sawyer Nintendo game from years and years ago.
Yep.
How the platforming is just kind of ass in that one.
Yeah, it is terrible in that one. Yeah, it just feels bad.
Like it just feels bad. Like I never really felt that way about it, but definitely a huge difference. And I can, you know, when you play a good one, then you know how good it can be, and you're like, oh, this is now I see why Matt said that one was bad.
Play the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the NES. The platforming in that one's even worse because of how they do the button press. There'll be short little jumps in a sewer that you can't make because there's a ceiling on top, and like you have to be so exact, and it didn't feel good. But that was because people weren't. There isn't as much thought to that goes in nowadays. Like people think about like how it feels so much more now. Now I'm not saying that people don't fail at that, because there's that blinders when you play a game so much. You're like, no, that seems normal. That's why game testing is a good, important thing to have to make sure stuff feels right. But yeah, like you play some of them old games and like it doesn't make sense. Like it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't work like you think it should. And that's bad game design. Let's just call it that. But luckily, Castlevania Symphony of the Night definitely avoids that pitfall for sure. Yeah,
it's fantastic that way. The enemies are interesting. I will give them that. There is a lot of wild stuff going on in this Dracula's castle. They're tough though. Like, gosh, even something as silly as little frogs on the floor, like they just kick my ass.
Yeah,
they
what are they, frogmen or jumpmen or something? I think they're called.
They jump so high and so erratically at you, and you're like, I don't know if I should duck or stand, and how to attack you, and when you're gonna jump, because I get close to you and you don't, and I get a little closer and you do. It's wild. I don't know. I put in some effort. I died a lot, that's for sure. I did get through like the first little mini boss thing.
That was the first boss. That's the first official boss.
That was tough, though. It took a few tries to finish it off.
It was funny to me watching you play that first boss, because, like, the first time, like, I expect to die the first time, but, like, every time you played after that, it was like watching you when you hunt a monster in Monster Hunter. You're like, oh, okay, this is what they do. But in the respect that Monster Hunter's a little more random in how the monster's going to attack. Like, you can't follow a pattern. You just got to watch for the cues. In Castlevania, like, these creatures will get into a pattern more so than anything.
Yeah. And I know that see, you phrased it this way the other night too. And like, I understand what you're saying, but I just feel like those are two such different things. And I don't like comparing them together because
Yeah.
like, and you're right. Like the more I did it, I got a little bit better each time. Right. But it's so limited on what you can do and what they're going to do. It just doesn't feel the same to me at all as fighting a monster in Monster Hunter. Fighting a monster in Monster Hunter is different every time. And there's so many different approaches that you yourself can possibly take. That's why that doesn't frustrate me. Like, I don't get frustrated at losing at Monster Hunter. Games like this frustrate me because you feel so boxed in with what you are able to do.
Uh-huh.
And like this boss was a perfect situation because it's actually two bosses
two
together
enemies
that can work together. And like, I learned how to get them in a kind of a loop of their actions where it was easier for me to defeat one, but then I got to deal with the second one, who's a fire-breathing gargoyle that just can annihilate you. And I mean, it's a lot of ducking and waiting. It feels so constricting and like you're so helpless, and I don't like that feeling.
I get where
I never
you're
feel helpless in Monster Hunter.
Well, I think the hard part too is you were very much in the early game. And so your choices of what you're able to do are very limited just because you don't have a bigger range of weapons. You don't have any magic spells you can try to use. And even I think at that point, you don't even start finding sub weapons until you beat this first boss. And so you don't even have like, oh, I can go to this area and get this sub weapon I really like that will be really useful against this boss.
Right.
Like you can't do that. So I think that's really tough because the sub weapons are a really important part. And it's kind of funny to watch this game be played because I played so many Castlevanias after this fact. And to go back to seeing like, oh man, yeah, they still had sub weapons. So if you had one you really liked, like I used to like the Bible because it would fly around you like crazy.
That's
and it does
helpful.
a lot of damage. And I would be like, okay, I remember the Bible drops in this room. I'd run back to that room, get the Bible. And then like on the way to the boss, I accidentally get knocked out of a room while I picked up a sub item I didn't want, and I didn't get a chance to pick my Bible back up, and I'm like, oh my God, then you got to go back. Like, I remember sometimes those irritations would happen.
This game is all about putting in time.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah. And
which is why I kind of was like, I'm done now, because it is all about putting in the time. The spinning Bible reminds me of
Vampire Survivors.
Yes, thank you.
Yep, that's why.
Yes,
that's why
that
it
was inspired by it. I'm sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Vampire Survivors was inspired by Castlevania in general. But
yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, it's really cool to see. Yeah, the holy water.
There's a lot of little things that I did notice. It was cool. I liked that about it too. I was like, oh, this is where there's. Yeah, once I got to the sub weapons, I do enjoy that. It's so funny because this game, like, there's hearts everywhere and I'm collecting them all. And I'm like, oh, my health is not going up. You're like, food, you need food. Hearts are for magic. I know it doesn't make sense. And I'm like, no, it does not. But once I did get, I was like, well, screw hearts. I don't need those. And then when I got a taste of that sub weapon power, I was like, I need more hearts.
Yeah, I need to keep my hearts at the top all the time.
Oh my goodness, though. Like trying to get food in Dracula's castle for your health.
Yep.
I think I found like one piece of food out of all the times I played.
Yeah, not a lot of floor turkey in Dracula's castle.
No, it's kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
It's a little frustrating.
I will...
Like, come on, just give me like 10 HP once in a while. That'll carry me through.
I do think that...
Why are they so tough?
It would be a little bit... don't want to say easier.
Why are
maybe
they so
easier
mean?
To get into. They are very mean about the health. And I think the design wise was, hey, I got this room, like a save room that heals you up, right? So the idea is to try to make it to the next save room.
Yeah, but you don't know where they are. Oh gosh.
Yeah, that's the thing. You don't know exactly. I saw you miss one like a couple times, and then when you found it, I saw your face again. Oh, it was like there was a save point right here.
Yeah, I went through.
You were so sad. You were so sad.
I have finally got like. See, this is why I don't like this crap. Because you only see the parts of the map that you've been to.
Yep.
Okay? And, like, I get to the save point, and I see, like, multiple times trying to get through these areas. I go 2 different ways. There's 2 different ways that I can take. I keep getting my ass kicked both ways. I'm like, I'll try this way again. Nope, I'll try this way again. I do not find a save point in either of those. And I'm so frustrated because I'm like, my God, I have to go through so much just to go die because I can't find a save point. And then the last time I played, like, it was, oh God, I hate to say it. I mean, it was a pretty obvious direction where that save point was. And I just kept missing it every time. Oh, I was so annoyed. I was like, God damn it.
I would say it's, part of that is part of the learning experience.
Well,
right?
part of it is like the further you get, the more maze-like it gets.
Yes.
For sure. So it is hard to remember, and that's partly my fault. Like, I should stick with going one direction, but, you know, the other direction just felt tough, and I'm like, maybe the other way is going to be a little bit, maybe I can get through there. It's so hard to remember where you have been and where you haven't been. So that last save point I found, I assumed that I had gone that way because it was like an easy way to go.
And that's also tough because...
Learning curve.
Yeah, part of that is you got to remember it. And then if you die before you hit a save point, your map doesn't stay updated. So, you know, you don't know for sure unless you missed a room or not. Like that, a lot of that is... How do I put it? When you get further in the game and you're like, man, I must have missed something, you look at the map and you try to look for doorways that you haven't gone through or stuff, you know, like that's pretty normal, right? But if you don't remember and you just keep blowing by this room because you die further on, then you're not going to remember because you can't look at the map to double check. And that's just kind of, that's a tough part. And it really does make me think, because I played this game quite a bit, and I think at this point, some of it is just muscle memory. Like I played this game a bunch, and I don't think about it as much. But watching you play it is like, oh yeah, it is a lot of memorization. And I do remember when I first really played it, I didn't even reach like the halfway point, and I had struggled with it a little bit originally. Yeah. But I really liked the game, and I was like, I can do this. And then the next time when I went to play it, playing through the beginning was easier, that I just kind of like it clicked finally. Kind of like I hate making connections to Monster Hunter, but like I really kept trying to get into Monster Hunter and it wasn't working for a long time. And then all of a sudden there was that point when it starts clicking for you. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh man, this is really good. And I think that's just, that click happens different for different people. And it's hard. If that's not your style of game in the first place, you're not going to stick around long enough for the click to happen.
Yeah,
right?
I think that's where I'm at. Like Monster Hunter, you tried so hard to get me into that for so long. And I was like, absolutely not. There's so much going on. Yeah. I hate it. I don't know what any of this is.
Yeah, 3 Ultimate's a tough thing to get into.
I remember, like, I went out on a quest and it's like 50-minute time limit. And I was like, what? You know, and you're like, it's fine. It's plenty of time. And I'm like, I feel so panicked. The clock is ticking down. Like,
it's an hour. Oh my God.
I was like, why is it giving me an hour? Is that how long this is going to take? Like, you had to reassure me so much, and I was like, I am not doing this. Yeah. It's so funny. And you are completely right, because Monster Hunter World, when you had me play that's when it all finally clicked. And I think it's nice that you say that you had to try so hard before it all clicked for you and you got it. And this game, I think it's kind of similar in that way. You got to do it a lot, and it's finally going to come together and be really reactionary movements for you. You know what's coming up, you know what to do, but it's not, I don't know. I like the design of it. The music's good. It's, you know, it's a sprite game. It's a platformer. It's like, this is cool. I don't really care to keep playing it though. Like, I don't feel like I get a lot out of it. The story's interesting. Mm-hmm. Feel kind of like a snob, but I'd rather have like a bigger, more active, like 3D version with the same kind of elements, and I would be more into it, I think. Mm-hmm. I don't know why I'm that way. I feel bad admitting that for some reason.
That's an interesting thought, and that gave me an idea, because there's a couple different ways we could go. There are 3D Castlevania games that are pretty good, newer ones. Like the ones that came out, like there was like Castlevania 64 that came out. Terrible game. Terrible game. I would not make anyone play that. But I think in the 360 Xbox 360 era, there was a few Castlevania games that did do pretty well. But if you're looking for a game that's about like exploring and a little bit of going back and forth and like killing monsters in a 3D aspect, you're kind of looking at a hack and slasher style game, and maybe that would interest you more. And that gives me some ideas for future games. But I think there's a lot of things to really like about this game and enjoy. Something that I knew you weren't going to get to, because it takes a while to get to this point in the game, but you kind of get to what you feel is the final boss at a certain point. You're like, oh, this is the guy I have to beat. And then the game does this like turn on you. No, this isn't the final boss. It's not even close.
I'm sure
you go through a portal. It flips the entire castle upside down, and then you have to go through an upside down, the inverted version of the castle. There's stronger enemies, there's new bosses, and then you can fight the final boss.
I'm not tolerating that. I'm not doing that.
It's so cool though.
It's a cool idea for people, masochistic people. I don't. I got no.
I see what you're saying.
No, bro.
But I just think from a design perspective, they designed a castle so well that you can go through it upside down and it still works.
And you saying that, I'm thinking about the environment and I see how that works, and that is really cool. I am impressed. I don't want to do it. That's not for me. No, thank you. Like Brussels sprouts. I'm good.
So
yuck. Unless they are covered in butter and bacon.
And the other thing I kind of wanted to bring up is like sub-weapons are kind of your main alternative form of attack. And you get other swords. I think there's spears. I can't remember if you get boomerangs and guns in this game, because I just didn't use them. I always used a sword. And I can't remember. It's been a minute. But as you get to future Castlevanias that use this format, one of my favorites, the ones where you play as a character called Soma, or I think the first game is called Aria of Sorrow, and it's for like the Game Boy Advance, but it's done so well. As you kill monsters, sometimes they might drop weapons for you, but you get money. The shops open up super early for you, so you actually have a place.
That was the other thing. I kept collecting a bunch of money, and I'm like, where the fuck do I use this at?
Yeah, the shop opens up like it feels too far into the game before you get a chance to spend your money.
I'm getting all this money, and I'm like, I just want food.
I know.
I just want food.
Where is there like a Starbucks? I'll take a bagel. Come on. But so in these future ones, you get a chance to vary how you play, and all the weapons really have a different feel for it. So like if you're using like single-handed weapons and swords, it's much like what you see in Symphony of the Night, where you're doing a quick attack in front of you, but you get these big two-handed like swords and axes, and your character will do this big arc where they'll slice above their head and in front of them. So like those jump men, they're so much easier to hit because you're making this big sweeping attack. Now you can't attack as fast as the sword, but you don't have to be as accurate. So you're doing I really like those style of weapons. You also can get guns, so you just shoot them. Like it takes more shots, but hey, you can keep distance between you and the enemy.
That would be nice.
Or even boomerangs are like that. So it gives you a lot more options to play the game how you like to play. And the sub-weapon part of the game is you get souls from these monsters you defeat. So as you defeat them, there's a chance they'll drop a soul. So like them skeletons that throw bones, well, you get their soul, then you can chuck a bone for some MP cost. And there's some really cool abilities you can get where you could summon a floating sword that attacks with you. You can... what was one? You can have a bow and arrow, or shoot a beam of water like a Squirtle or a Blastoise, So I think in those future iterations, it gets a lot more easier to play the game how you want. And going back to Symphony of the Night, you are kind of dependent on playing in this style, and the only wiggle room you get is a sub weapon, and that's not a lot of wiggle room, unfortunately.
Right.
And I think it is still a really good game, especially if you like this style of game, like a Metroidvania. But I do think I would suggest people to try like Aria of Sorrow. I think you can buy the like Game Boy Advance collection for Steam or like on Xbox, so you can play them on your big screen if you want to. I think that's an easier starting point. But I think this is such a pivotal game. I thought that this was important for you to try. I knew you would like the vibe.
It is really, yeah. I mean, I can see that it's a good game. It's one of these situations where it's like I can have respect for this game. It's just not one that I want to play. Like, I think it's done really well and I appreciate it. But it's not something that I ever want to touch. and I mean, at least I can say like, oh, it's a good game. I would never tell someone not to play it. I would never say, oh, this game sucks. I hate it. I don't hate it. I just don't want to touch it. I don't want to play it. I don't want to deal with it. It's not for me. I like being challenged, but not in that way.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just, it's so, I don't like feeling limited. And when 2 tables can corner me and kick my ass until I die, like, it's just not the game for me. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because that happened. I got stuck in a corner with 2 tables just demolishing me. Tables.
And it's hard. Like, yeah, you could grind those first few rooms until you level up enough that you one-shot those tables and they're not as much of a problem. Or somebody drops a better weapon for you so you can one-shot these enemies. Like, it wouldn't be as much of a problem. But like you said, it's
I don't
time.
have faith in drops in this game.
That's
the drops
investment.
in this game are not, no.
They're like a few percent.
They're
ridiculous. It's not a lot.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I don't like it. It doesn't feel good. Like I said, it's pretty much just like, here's some money, here's some money, here's some money. You can't spend it, but we're not going to give you anything you actually want. Just here's some money. Here's a pair of sunglasses. Guess what? It doesn't do anything for you. Here you go. No. The drops in this game kind of blow, at least in the beginning. It probably gets better, but
I mean, it does. But I think that's the grindy aspect about this game. And again, that's like you said, this game is time. It's memorization. It is hitting enemies over and over. It's getting experience. It's getting a chance for weapons and armor that you're not going to find in a chest somewhere or have to buy. It's hard to be like, okay, I'm going to hop out this room, hop in, kill these enemies, hop out the room, hop in again, kill these enemies, because they respawn every time you leave the room.
Yes, they do.
And
unfortunately,
that's good if you're grinding, but not so good if you're just trying to explore.
Bad at 10 HP trying to find a freaking save point.
Where's the save point that gives me a sweet coffin to rest in? Yeah. The like one totally 3D part of the game, which is kind of, and it beats like a heart, which is also kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I really enjoy this game, but I also can understand like it's not for everybody. And it's a time investment. And like I say this over and over. And the older I get, the less interested I get into games that just require me to spend time.
Yeah.
And it's not that I don't have a desire for them sometimes, but the game has to be really good to keep me coming back. It's like playing Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. That game expects a lot of time out of you, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But because it's so enjoyable to spend time in that world, that even if I'm not necessarily advancing the story, I'm still enjoying spending my time with that game. It's okay then.
Well, I think a big part of it too is like the style of game, if you can load it up and get into it quickly. And there's some games that are just harder for me to get into the groove of, and this is that kind of game.
Yeah.
It takes a couple of runs for me to even get warmed up.
Yeah, I see
to
what
where
you're
I'm
saying.
actually playing
how you want to.
not like a moron, you know. I mean, geez, where I'm slowing down and waiting and trying to time things out better instead of just trying to tank through. That's really I just got to call it out like it is. Like, I want to tank through things, and I can't in this kind of game, and I don't like it. And I've been this way since I was little, and I don't think I'm going to change now. I don't like being patient and waiting on a platformer game. It annoys me for some reason.
I want to juggernaut this game and just plow through.
I don't get that feeling of like, oh, I can get so powerful that I feel strong and can tank through, you know? Mm-hmm. I don't get that feeling from these type of games. And it is so hard to get my mindset right in the first place. It's not a game that I can load up like once a month and just jump in and go.
No, definitely not.
For me, I think some people are better at it than I am. I would not have a good time. It would be ineffective, mostly.
I think it's like we were talking about before, when the game clicks for you, then if you move to other Metroidvania games, then it's easier to get into that groove, right? And if you haven't hit that click point and gotten enough experience, like, it's going to be harder. And we were also talking about the time thing. Like, there are certain points in this game where if you rush too fast, you get punished. If you wait too long, though, you also get punished.
Yeah.
So you got to find the right timing, or you have to wait a long time, right?
Yeah.
Even longer than...
Just inactively waiting.
Yeah.
And at that point, for me, it's like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
This isn't fun.
That's not necessarily fun gameplay.
Playing Slay the Spire right now.
Yeah. Your current card game addiction.
Yeah.
Yep. Is there anything else you wanted to add about it? Castlevania, any thoughts?
I don't think so. I mean, like I said, I appreciate it. I like it in a lot of ways, but it's just one of those ones that's not for me.
Yeah. Like I said, maybe...
Glad I got to see it and try it. It's nice to see where Vampire Survivors was inspired in a lot of places.
Yep.
I do enjoy that part of it, but no. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'll pass.
I really think... it's not the type of game for everyone. And like I said, I probably wouldn't start with Symphony of the Night.
So why did you start me on that one?
Because I didn't have a good way to play some of the other ones at the time. And this one's I was thinking, like, I haven't done a Metroidvania for you, and this is the one.
You keep admitting how you, like, put me on the harder thing first, and then...
Okay, this is me admitting that now that I realize, hey, maybe I should have picked a different one.
Yep.
Because at the time I was like, no, that should be fine. You know, you've had a lot of practice, like, you can get into it more. And like you said, once I saw you warm up a little bit, you were starting to get into it a little bit. But after watching you play this, and like from my experience playing other ones, I'm like, you know what? It would have probably been better to try another one where she has a little more customization in the way she can approach her problems. It's still the same type of game, but if you can change your actions in a way that makes it easier for you, it's a big difference. And I realize that now, and that's the hard part with some of these games. Like, I played them a lot, and I don't think about that. This is why we do this podcast. This is why we do it, because I played so much that I don't even think about things like this unless I see you playing it, and then I'm like, oh yeah, for somebody who doesn't play a lot of games, this might be a problem. Oh, okay.
I think when I feel like I don't have much control, I don't tend to like those kind of games.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's why you like more strategy-oriented games where you can take the time to really...
Well, something I need a lot of time, but I want to do what I want to do. I think that's what it is. To me, that's like the whole point of playing a video game.
Yeah, I get that. All right. What would you rate this out of 10?
7 out of 10. I would give it a lower score, but like I said, I have respect for this game, and I do enjoy the music. I do enjoy the cutscenes and the dialogue and the scenery. I enjoy the enemies, like, they're original and interesting, even though they're a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's, and like just hearing about how the castle flips upside down, the design of it, like, it's well thought out. I do have a lot of respect for it. I am never going to play this game again. I'm good. But yeah, I think it at least deserves that.
Yeah.
It's just one of those ones that's not for me.
it makes me want to play it for you so you can see more of it, but I don't think you would pay enough attention.
No. I almost said that. Well, we were talking about that. I'm like, maybe I should just watch you play it. And then I had to admit to myself, like, I won't pay attention. I will start doing something else.
Yeah.
And I don't know. They're just not. I'll watch you do a hunt in Monster Hunter, but I'll honestly not keep my focus.
I'd feel bad hunting without you. That's if you were sitting right there and I'm like, okay, I'm going to hunt.
Just whole body shaking next to you. Let me go like a dog.
Let me out the cage.
Yeah.
Let's go. Oh.
Do you know how many Belmonts it takes to screw in a light bulb?
Belmont. How many?
We don't know. They keep whipping them down.
That's so dumb.
It is. But funny.
Oh, that's such a good joke. Actually, it gets better the more I think about it. Because, yeah, you spend so much time just... They hate candles. They hate them.
They do.
I need the hearts these candles hold. What kind of candles are these? What kind of lanterns are these? Why do I get hearts? Oh, I like that one. That was a good one. So, what else have you been playing?
I had a hard time playing Castlevania because I can't stop playing Slay the Spire.
Yeah, it's got its hooks in you.
It's obsessive. It's obsession.
It's obsession. I thought for a moment, I'm like, okay, she got a feel for it, and she'll probably come back and play a little bit, but I had a feeling like you were going to move on, and then one day you decided to play again, and I'm like, oh no. Oh, it's got its hooks on her. She's going hard.
That game gave me a few tastes of victory, and now it's being a little stingy.
Yeah, now you know how I feel, don't you?
I get so close. So many times. Like, I've had multiple times now where I get to the last final boss and I die.
Yeah.
It's so... it makes you want to snap a pencil.
You're so close. And then, if you die on the first boss or like before, like in that first act, it's like, oh, I'll stop.
You can blame it on the randomness. You can be like, oh, I didn't get a good start and time to do it again. You don't care, right? You're like, oh, it was a bad start. No big deal. But when you get like halfway through the second boss or halfway through the third act and you die, or at the third act boss, even, I don't know, when you get all the way to the third act boss, you're like, I basically almost won. So that doesn't feel so bad, but getting in the third act and dying partway through that, you're like, I was too close. Nope, gotta do it again.
Yeah, the drive to do it.
When you're feed off of these type of games so badly. I can't control myself.
Yeah, that drives me to play more than dying early on. If I die early on, it's like, okay, and whatever. I can stop there.
It's a little easier to be like, screw this game.
But if I keep getting that close to beating a run, I have to do it. And I had some of that happening. I was playing some Wizard of Legend, and that's a roguelike game.
Yeah.
And I got to the final boss recently, and it was like, oh my gosh, I was so close. Like, it's so close. And it's like, I got to do it again. Like, I got to go through again. I know I can make it. Oh my gosh. It really just like leaves an itch that you can't scratch. It drives me nuts. Anything else other than that? I think it's just been Slay the Spire.
It's just been Slay the Spire. It's easy to jump into and just go. And you can save, although it's hard for me to stop. And it's like, I'm just going to keep going.
And you've been playing the like daily challenges too. You've been checking those out.
I have a couple times. It depends on who the character is. Mm-hmm. It's been the defect a lot this last week, and I'm not going to attempt that just because... I like that character and I want to try him more, but I was trying to get all the unlocks for the first two.
Yeah.
First. I finally did on the Silent. I have all the unlocks now. But the Ironclad, it's so funny going back and forth between those two characters because they play so differently.
Yes, they do.
The Ironclad is just, it's just big beefy attacks, and you feel like there's no way I should be able to lose, and you still do.
Yep. You still only have so much health.
But it was an interesting daily challenge. The last one I tried with the Silent, they give you a bunch of cards to start off with. It chooses one card and gives you multiples, and it was the
intangible one, right?
Yeah, which makes it so that any attack done to you is only 1, and it's 2 intangibles, so that lasts for 2 turns. So if an enemy's going to hit you with like a 50 HP attack, like, great, use that. But it makes your dexterity go down by 1 at the end of your turn for the rest of that battle. So pretty soon, your blocks do nothing.
Yep.
You cannot block
Useless
anymore.
cards.
So it costs all of your points to use that intangible card, and then you just gotta really hope and pray that you keep getting them. Like, it's such a bad loop that it puts you in. That was hard. That is a hard challenge.
You almost have to play those like almost every time you get it to keep your intangible up so you can focus on attacking. It's funny. I like how mean that is because it is this bad loop that you have to put yourself in to even, if you do it once, you got to keep doing it pretty much. It's really hard to stop. It's almost like, here's a little bit of cocaine. See if you can go without it now. You can't, you know? Get rid of all your friends that have block. You don't need them no more.
And to make that even more challenging, on top of that, you get 10 randomized cards at the bottom of your deck every battle too. So your intangible, they pop up a lot in the beginning when you don't really need to use them yet, and then by the end, or the middle of the battle, I should say, after a few turns in, it's like, okay, now I need those. You might get one, but oh boy, it's hard to get that other one.
Yeah, when you need it. Oh, stressful.
So that's how that run ended. It was like, I really need one, didn't get it. Got hit with way too much damage. It's fun though. I enjoy that game so much. I'm not really getting tired of it. I could do that pretty much every night, and I'm just happy as a clam.
Yep.
So we'll see how long it takes for this to get out of my system. I guess it'll depend on what you throw at me this next week.
Yep, we'll see.
Oh, man.
Well, what I've been playing recently is the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Not Rebirth, which is the second one. Remake. So it's out on PC. I picked it up quite a while ago on a Steam sale, and I just haven't got around to it. But like Rebirth came out, everyone was doing it. I finished the Spider-Man remastered game, and I was like, I'm going to play Remake. And man, is it good. It is. It's really good. And it's funny. I played like a demo of it over at a friend's house at one point, and I was like, I don't know if I like this. Like I didn't, because like I'm so used to Final Fantasy VII and what it is, and they changed up how the gameplay is so much that it feels like such a different game, but familiar at the same time. And it like, to ride that line is so impressive. And there are changes to things that happen in the story as you're playing, and you're like, what is going on? Because there's a lot of the story beats that it hits that you remember, and then like it'll give you sometimes like these little like left turns, something's like a little different. And I haven't completed it yet, and I've heard things a little bit, but I've tried to avoid really hearing what's going on because I want to experience it for myself. But it's been fun. It's really actiony, and like bosses can be really tough. You got to be really careful. Honestly, you would probably, out of any type of RPG, you would like this more because it is much more actiony. And you're playing it next week now because you're being so stubborn. No, I'm joking. She's not playing it next week. I won't do that to her. But it's really fun. And I'm having a blast. I get a little bit of confusion from, I remember these story beats from the first game, the original, and I'm like, oh, the game's almost over now. No, it's not, because they stretched out the whole.
You guys keep.
What?
Final Fantasy is ridiculous. You guys keep remaking and replaying the same game.
No, it's not. Don't say that.
Sorry.
I'm going to start making you play a lot of Final Fantasy so you learn the difference if you say that. You'd be a good person. You'd be good over there.
Nobody bring up Pokemon right now either.
Yeah, I know. Way more the same every game than freaking half the Final Fantasies. Oh,
okay.
Don't even with me right now.
But you just said you get the story confused because it's so...
It's not about it's the timing, because the original PlayStation game is... Disc 1 of that game is essentially Final Fantasy VII Remake. And that part of that game only takes like maybe... I don't want to put a number on this. It doesn't take as long as it's taking now.
Hey. I was just making my point. I wasn't trying to get a full-fledged explanation. No
you got
offense.
me excited.
I don't... See, it's hard because I don't have any context for what you're saying. Yep. So you just... My eyes are glazing over. I'm trying to pay attention, but it's hard for it to mean something tangible to my head. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I just want to say it's good. It's really well done. If you like Final Fantasy, give it a try. If you like action RPGs, this might be the Final Fantasy you like.
I will ask you this. Like, what is the action RPG? What do you mean by that?
Action RPGs will be more in the vein of like Skyrim or where how you move around and the things you do, like you have much more effect on if attacks hit you or how much damage they do to you. Typical JRPG is the one you're thinking about, where like they stand on that side, you stand on this side, you get one action every turn, like Dragon Quest, more like that.
I'm sure they made it. Never mind. Sorry. Nope.
She's being a stinker over here, folks.
I stopped it.
All right. We will, I think that's all I've really been playing otherwise. I've been kind of dipping my toes in a few other things, but nothing serious. So I want to thank you, our listener, for tuning in, checking out, listening. I started a Pokemon Nuzlocke run because after hearing Rose play and talk about Pokemon Violet so much, it made me want to play it, but not Pokemon Scarlet or Violet. So,
no.
So I put that up on YouTube. I'll try to make some clips and throw them on TikTok. But yeah, go check that out. I just freaking doing it when I can. So I got, I think, 3 episodes up now, and I've been having fun. And I want to thank Brother Ray for our caricatures, because I love them. They're amazing. Thank you. And yeah, let's just get out of here. I'm ready. I'm Matt.
I'm Rose.
You keep gaming with your bestie. Ta-ta!